Doctora Nussbaum, ¿por qué son importantes las humanidades, las artes, el teatro, el juego para generar esta forma de imaginación?
People sometimes think that the imagination and the emotions happen naturally and they don't need to be educated. And that's a big mistake. First of all, emotions are culturally shaped. So the degree to which people will have retributive anger, or by contrast, a spirit of hope and forgiveness, this is mediated by culture. It doesn't just happen naturally by birth. And so we all have an obligation, therefore, to figure out how on earth to educate the emotions well rather than badly, including, let's say, how would we educate people so as to have less contempt for people with disabilities? So this just to choose a problem that's very much a part of another book of mine. Well, one part is the structure of the classroom. One has to include people with many different types of disabilities in the common classroom. But then the discussion must include a kind of spirit of mutuality and respect and cultivate emotions of friendship rather than emotions of fear, because people always used to be terribly afraid of people who looked different from others. And so, put the fear aside, get children playing and interchanging together. So in every place where society has constructed fear and anger, the schools need to do something differently and construct cooperation. And that's a kind of education of the emotions. But the imagination, too, is a kind of children are born with the capacity to look at the world from another person's point of view. We know this by psychologists who have done experiments on very young babies. They have this ability to look at the world from another viewpoint. But as time goes on, it often becomes weak and narrow. After all, people need to expand the imagination. They're not born with the capacity to see what the world looks like from the point of view of a minority in their own society. That's a very special training of the imagination that comes later and by effort. And that's where literature and the arts come in. Literary works can give you, as I said, when I talked about Ralph Ellison, an experience of pleasure while at the same time you're doing something very strange that you didn't do before. That is, you're working on your inner eyes to see better the reality of, for example, an African-American life or a life of a woman or whatever it might be. So it's the way that the arts combine pleasure, participation, and then the challenge of difference that makes them such powerful vehicles for the education of the imagination and the emotions.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. You're like a